Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? It's been a while since I've been on, and it's late, 9:45 Central Time. But you know what? It just hit me. The moment hit me, and what I want to do is talk a little bit about House Bill 2231, and that is the Pronoun Bill. The Pronoun Bill was passed by the legislature, both in the House and the Senate. And effectively, what it did was to say that teachers could not be forced, they would not be able to be forced by school districts or what have you, to use alternative pronouns, right? So if a young student comes to class and they're confused or they're trying to be special or trendy, whatever the reason, they want to be called by pronouns which are different than what their actual sex is. The school district can't employ a policy that says, yes, whatever the kids want, that's how we're going to refer to them. They would not be required. So what this does is avoids this whole woke trajectory that we have, in which we indulge these fantasies, in which we indulge this mental illness, and play along, I guess we'll say. Now, what it does do is it said that teachers could use these alternative or preferred pronouns that the students might want, as long as it was okay with the parents. Okay, now I'm simplifying things, but that's in effect what it did. So Governor Burgum vetoed it in his infinite wisdom, because he is right there with the wokest people, and he said, this is just from a news report, but the governor always gives an explanation for when they veto something. In his explanation, according to this news report, he said, quote, "The First Amendment already prohibits compelled speech and protects teachers from speaking contrary to their beliefs, and courts across the country have upheld these rights." So what he's saying there is we don't need any laws that protect something that is already protected by the Bill of Rights. Now, what he means by that, intentionally or not, is we're not going to give any further protections if you feel that you have been wronged and that your any of your civil rights by the Bill of Rights, so your First Amendment rights, have been violated. You can go to court. You can sue. So I guess Governor Burgum is just content to let you fight it out in court, let you take off work, let you hire a lawyer, let you come up with the money to defend your First Amendment rights. There's no need to have anything in state law that further underscores these rights. So then he went on to say ambiguity in this bill would invite lawsuits and put teachers in the precarious position of trying to determine how to refer to students without violating law. It's very easy. You refer to students. Well, this is really odd anyway, because this whole pronoun thing is in the second person. You don't talk to a student and say he, her, she, him, whatever. You're talking to another person about that student, and you're using those second person pronouns. So this whole thing about pronouns isn't even about how you're interacting with the person. It's about that person controlling you in what you're able to say. So it's really all about control. Anyway, so what you would do is you would refer in the second person to the student according to their biological sex. That's the default position. Now, if the student wants you to refer to them as with alternate pronouns, and you are open or supportive of that, and rightfully you have the parents' support of that, you certainly can refer with these pretend pronouns. There's nothing stopping that. So there is no hindering the First Amendment. Now, there is already constraints within the First Amendment when we go to public schools on how a teacher can refer to students. There certainly is language and ways of interacting with the students which are not permitted. So this is we need to get off that. So Governor Burgum vetoed it on on that premise. Now, what he really did is he believes in all of this woke social justice agenda. He believes very much in that. And then what he does is then vetoes the bill, just like he did last session when he vetoed the bill that protected women's sports from having guys say that they're women and then having those women, or those guys rather, participate in women's sports and just killing them. He vetoed that, and the Senate was not able to override his veto, so that never became law. So what I wanted to do is bring up the session, the floor session. So the Senate overrode the governor's veto. So the legislature passes something, then the governor can say, nope, I'm vetoing it. We're not going to do that bill. But that's not where it ends. It does go back to the legislature if they want to take it up, and then it must pass with 2/3 vote in both the Senate and the House. If it passes with 2/3 vote, then it overrides the governor's veto and it actually does become law. So that's what happened. It went back to the Senate. The Senate passed it with flying colors because it's a good bill, more than 2/3. Then it goes to the House, and it did not make the 2/3. They had 60, I think they needed 62 votes. They had 60 votes when it first passed, and they lost 4 people. I think one person was not there, so they lost 3 people. So 3 people just said, you know what? Well, however I voted before, I'm just going to do what the governor wants. But one of the people that got up on the floor, and this is what I want to highlight, and we're going to interact with this video recording, is Representative Emily O'Brien from Grand Forks. And I think she brings up some arguments that are worth addressing in discussing this. And so let me see if I can bring that up. Hold on here. So this is Emily. She's just about to, she's just starting her speech.
I grew up attending a Catholic school from preschool to 6th grade. You know, one of my main takeaways from attending a Catholic school is the golden rule. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. Ask yourself, does Senate Bill 2231 treat others the way you would want to be treated?
Yes, actually it does. Because remember what this does. This doesn't force you to do anything. It says that other people can't force you to use language you don't want to use. So if I use the golden rule, I am protecting people from being forced to use speech they don't want to use. And in fact, I would want other people to treat me that way. I would want other people to protect my speech, to protect me from being compelled to use speech I didn't want to use, especially when that speech was patently false, erroneous, and indulging, unfortunately, a very, very unhealthy fantasy. So let's hear what else Emily has to say here.
Now today, a religious conference wants to impose what public schools can and can't do. If this religious conference wants this in their schools, then they should have put it in their policy. In Senate Bill 2231, non-public schools are left out. Why? If the religious conference thinks this is good enough for public schools, then it's good enough for non-public schools.
Okay, here's a basic thing Emily apparently doesn't understand at all. A private school should have the right to do what they want. A public school, which is paid for by tax dollars, should be held accountable by the taxpayers that allow those schools to be in existence. The taxpayers whose children, by and large, go to these schools, that are compelled to go to these schools, that if the taxpayers can't afford a private school, must go to these schools by law. So when it's in a governmental entity, so this is government school, public school is government school. When it's a governmental entity that your children are compelled to go to, you have a say on what happens there. So public school is the only place that this bill should apply. Now, a private school has a board. The parents of the students that send their kids there should be talking with the board and should, if they so choose, have policies which say we are not going to compel someone to use speech that is obviously wrong and perhaps even against their morals. So Emily just doesn't understand at all the separation of the appropriate place for government intervention, and that is with government institutions, far more than it is with private institutions. This is very telling, I think.
They should have included themselves too. Senate Bill 2231 takes away freedom of speech and local control. We throw the North Dakota Constitution around occasionally and uphold it when we pick and choose. But what about this bill? Article 7, Political Subdivisions, Section 1. The purpose of this article is to provide for maximum local self-government by all political subdivisions with a minimum duplication of functions. Does this part of the Constitution no longer apply to Senate Bill 2231? We believe in...
Now, keep in mind, this is not forcing anyone to do anything. This is preventing someone from being forced to do something. There is no constraint of free speech. There is total local control. If you are a school district and you want to use alternative pronouns, and you are a teacher who wants to use alternative pronouns, and the parents of your student are supportive and want you to use alternative pronouns or preferred pronouns, you can do that. You can do that. There is no constraint here. Emily is completely mistaken, misguided, doesn't understand the Constitution, certainly doesn't understand
local control unless we disagree with local control. What about Article 8 of the Constitution? Education. Section 1. A high degree of intelligence, patriotism, integrity, and morality on every voter in a government by the people being necessary in order to ensure the continuance of that government and the prosperity and happiness of the people. The Legislative Assembly shall make provisions for the establishment and the maintenance of a system of public schools which shall be open to all children of the state of North Dakota and free from sectarian control. I'll repeat.
So, now you may say, why don't they, Emily said free from sectarian control. You may be asking yourselves, why were they concerned about secretaries controlling schools? Now, what Emily means here is sectarian control, not secretarian control. And I don't want to make too much fun, but she repeats this further on. Maybe it's just a simple mistake, but I'm not sure if she understands what sectarian means. Now, sectarian was a term that was used a lot in the late 1800s, right about the time and before when North Dakota became a state and the Constitution was written. At that time, there was a very strong anti-Catholic sentiment running throughout the country. People hated Catholics. And so the Catholics were running some of their own private schools. Now, the Protestants were generally involved with the public schools. So it's the Catholic schools that they wanted to exclude. They wanted Catholics to have nothing to do with kids, to not have the advantage of taxpayer money for their schools instead of the other schools. So the sectarian language got put in there. Sectarian is promoting a doctrine that is narrow or exclusive. That's the definition. And so according to our Constitution, taxpayer money can't go directly to sectarian schools. Now, this has been challenged and won in the Supreme Court, that this Blaine Amendment, there's an amendment, a group of amendments called Blaine Amendments, and there were these sort of anti-Catholic, anti-sectarian amendments, and the goal was to make American society much more, I guess, to not have religion in it so much. So that's what Emily's referring to. It's in the Constitution, non-sectarian, anti-Catholic, and it's in there based on a severe prejudice in the late 1800s. I guess that's what she is wanting to have her support on. Having just talked about having gone to Catholic school, if she understood history, this is not the foundation upon which you would rest your argument. But let's hear her out.
To ensure the continuance of that government and the prosperity and happiness of the people. How does Senate Bill 2231 adhere to this? It doesn't. What about in both the North Dakota Constitution and the United States Constitution? Free from sectarian control. All schools maintained or supported wholly or in part by the public funds shall be forever free from sectarian control or influence. Senate Bill 2231 is sectarian abuse. This is discrimination, hatred.
I can't take it. I have to tease a little bit. I mean, we all want to be free from sectarian abuse. There was a secretary in my high school who was mean to me. And I think that clearly was an instance of sectarian abuse. Forgive me, I had to.
Or prejudice between different sects of a particular mode of an ideology or different sects of a religion within a nation or community. For us as legislators, the most glaring problem in Senate Bill 2231 is Section 1, subsection 2, that states that an individual may assert a violation of this section as a claim or defense in a judicial proceeding and obtain appropriate relief, including costs and reasonable attorney fees. This is a giant loophole for terminated school district employees to bring frivolous lawsuits forward. This could cost our taxpayers significant dollars when any spurned teacher or school district employee.
Okay, so now she's just throwing out a red herring, coming up with, this is what they do when they want something to fail. They'll talk about, oh my God, this could cost so much money. We could get sued. We're going to lose accreditation. These are the arguments that the establishment comes up with. So Emily's arguments are well, very, very poor arguments. And, but hey, she and her ilk won, and they were not able to get the two-thirds vote. So let's take a look at some of your comments here before we bug out. Let's see here. We'll just show it here. Marcella, Fargo Public Schools have an internal form that, as of this year, needs no permission from the parents to change a student's name to their preferred name. Last year, it was parent permission. See, folks, this is what we're talking about. Parents need to be involved. And that's what these progressives are doing, is they're gradually, step by step, getting the parents out of the child's lives. When the school, when the progressives, the teachers, others have the control, you can mold the student more. Let's see here. Compelled speech is antithetical to free speech. No doubt about that. Good luck finding the money to sue. And we're talking back about protecting your First Amendment rights, which, Doug, is subterfuge. Yes, it's all subterfuge. Troy Presser, what do you think should be done with students who say they are a cat or dog or other animal? You're exactly right, Troy, and I've said that as well. If a student wants you to call her Miss Kitty, should you do that? Should you indulge this fantasy? Just like if this little girl wants you to say that she's a boy, should you indulge this fantasy? Of course not. If there's actually mental illness there and the parents want you to, they think that the best way to support their child is to indulge that, well, and you want to, you still could have, if this bill had passed. No doubt about it. Very good comments. Thank you for coming here to talk tonight. We're addressing this very important subject in Grand Forks. We have a transgender non-conforming procedure in our Grand Forks public schools. Well, good luck, Tammy. I hope it goes well. This is nothing against the kids. So there's a couple of things going on here. This is my opinion, right? The transgender thing is exploding, right? Now, there have always been people who have believed that they're actually the opposite sex of what they are physically or biologically. And this is just factually a mental illness. It's no different than a girl who is anorexic but truly believes she's fat. It's no different than the guy who has 5 nose jobs, has a tiny deformed little nose and believes his nose is huge. That is a mental illness. It's body dysmorphic syndrome. And it would be no different than if I told you that I was a 15-year-old Vietnamese guy, right? There's no gender involved, but I clearly am not. And if I believe I am, that is a mental illness. So anyway, so there is the actual situation in which there may be a mental illness or a very, very strong psychological issue, a psychosis, what have you. But then there's also behavioral. These kids are, number one, highly, highly influenced. They struggle to fit in. They struggle to jump on whatever is trendy and popular. There are any number of reasons. They may feel that they are excluded and ostracized from the cool kids or whatever. And so they will go into potentially a group in which now they are special. Now they're recognized. Now they're unique. Think about the goth kids, right? They feel this is maybe, I don't know, are there still goth kids? I don't even know. But a decade or so back, they're not fitting in mainstream. They're not the cheerleader and football player. Maybe they're not solid in band, and they don't know how to rope a calf, and they don't know how to fix a car. And so they need to find their tribe. And so what we have here is a situation in which kids are looking for a tribe. And that's why you have this explosion of kids that are now suddenly the opposite sex of what they are, or no sex, or pansexual. These are kids that don't even know what sex is, and they think they're pansexual, I think. Or think that they're a dog or a cat or a raccoon or a fish or whatever else it is. So this is clearly just a trendy thing. Parents need to be involved. Parents need to be able to say, no, Susie, sit your ass back down. You are not a cat. We're not going to play this game. Do your homework or you're grounded. Okay. We need some discipline here. These kids need a mental evaluation. Sure enough. Recall Emily O'Brien. Yeah, recalls almost never work. You can certainly try. I don't know if recalling is going to be successful in Grand Forks. I don't understand why the Democrats haven't beat her there. I mean, I don't know if she lives in her district. She used to not live in her district. I am told that she had an apartment that she kept with an address in her district, but lived with her boyfriend and her kids in a house outside of her district. I don't know what the situation is now, but I can't figure out how nobody called that out. Let's see. I'm going to run against Emily, and hello, voters. She doesn't even live in your district. I don't know. Charles Tuttle educated them in that line. My daughter was penalized for her daily conduct grade in her 7th grade class because she would not use the false pronoun of her classmate. That is unbelievable. See, this is what we're talking about. And doesn't it make you guys want to homeschool? I think I would be strongly considering homeschooling the way things are going right now. I know it's easier said than done. Believe me, I'm not sure how we would have done it back in the day, but although it seems infinitely easier now after COVID and after what appears to be a very strong increase in the interest and participation in homeschooling or grouping with parents to form sort of co-ops and what have you. North Dakota has not been particularly kind to homeschoolers, but it has gradually improved. All right. Anyway, that's all I have. Wait, someone else had, where do we, oh, here, there are some more. Hold on. Sorry. What's our next step? Kristen says, and I don't know what our next step is. There is another bill that has some pronoun stuff in it. There are several other trans-related bills that have passed. They're either on Doug Burgum's desk or they're going to go to his desk. I don't know if he's going to veto them. Most of them passed with what are called veto-proof majorities, meaning that if everyone keeps the vote the way they say, they can override the veto easily. But Doug, he spent a lot of money. Governor Burgum spent a lot of money getting legislators in his pocket. And, so far it's panning out for him. So how the weather modification, I don't know anything about that. Becker for governor. Not passing this. Yeah. You're going to visit with Emily, Tammy? Well, why not? Can't hurt. Might be wasting your time, but can't hurt. Let's see. We'll get down to the rest of these here real quickly. I'm sorry. I didn't want to take too long. We're on 24 minutes. They call themselves progressive, sending us back 100 years on racial. And oh my gosh, isn't that the truth? We were finally getting moved past looking through a lens of skin color and gender. And now the progressives want us to only look through those lenses. It's phenomenal to me. It's really phenomenal. Grassroots community in our districts, that's the way to go. You start actually being successful in recalling or electing different school board members. Things change fast if you can actually do that. Thoughts on amending the failed bill into 1522? You know what? It certainly could be. I don't know the details of 1522. I don't know what's in there, but they definitely could. And it's really easy if the Senate changed anything. I understand. I think they changed something. So that means if it passed in the House, the Senate changed something, and then it passes there, it needs to come back together and they need to reconcile it. And that is a place that the conference committee, 4 people, can slip in a new amendment. It has been done. Pretty cut and dry. If too many people show up, then the rules change. They don't want the people, parents involved, DPI, legislators, governor, all think you do not know how to raise your own child. I agree, Marvin. I agree. Cancer is coming from Minnesota. Yeah. Well, isn't that an interesting thing too? Do you know how much money we're spending on subsidizing college students from Minnesota? And I assuming you all know that at UND and NDSU, Minnesota students clearly outnumber North Dakota students, and that those students are all subsidized with your taxpayer dollars. I don't have updated numbers, but to the tune of well over $7,000 per student per year. Your money. That's right. Your money. I identify as 5.5 foot tall Aboriginal woman. Luke, I always thought you were an Aboriginal woman. Are you just saying that you identify as shorter? I think that. Grand Forks residents, join us. Forging Forward in the Forks. Nice alliteration. It sounds like a good group if it is indeed a group. Grand Forks people, take a look at that. Wherever it is, Forging Forward in the Forks. Gender dysphoria. Absolutely. That's what it is. Gender dysphoria. Unacceptable. I agree. Thank you for speaking out. You are welcome. Dangers to our children. Definitely. Trans is the new goth. Unfortunately, black eyeliner washes off when the kids grow out of it. Mastectomies aren't reversible. That is a very good point. We don't want to recall. We want to lead to understanding. Well, Tammy, it's nice that you're optimistic on that. Let's see. Careful about calling out Emily O'Brien. She will make accusations against you. Yeah, she gave false accusations against Luke. Interesting, Luke, too, that she had made allegations falsely for sexual harassment at a previous workplace. She's got a pattern. She's one of the mean girls in the legislature. Carrie Lynn, praise God for homeschool. Yes, indeed, sister. Carrie Lynn, yep, good luck. Okay, I don't want to leave people out, but can we call you governor since our feelings are, yeah, I identify as a damn good governor for the state of North Dakota. That's how I identify. Okay, well, I am gonna go out of here. You guys, thanks for hanging out. There's anywhere from, I think 60 to 90 of you that held on for this whole time. We're coming up on half an hour. So that's good. That's good. Let's do this more often. I don't know. I'm getting pulled back in. I needed this mental break. Believe me. It's been a good, 6 months almost? About 6 months since the last election. And I've kind of dabbled. I've needed the break and it's been good. I feel energized. I feel whole. So anyway, guys, have a great night. And I won't be, I'm sure, talking before Easter. So have a great Easter. We'll see y'all. You take care.